5-time Grammy Award winning singer, songwriter, producer, TV personality, entrepreneur, pop culture, and fashion icon, CeeLo Green. Thank you so much for joining us today. How are you doing?
You're welcome. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm doing just fine.
So, CeeLo Green is Thomas Callaway's your new album. I think it's a super soulful masterpiece, and there's a bunch of firsts. So, it's the first album in 5 years. It's the first album recorded with a live band in the studio, and it's the first album released with your given name, Thomas Callaway. So before we dive into the album trivia, I have a bunch of questions about that. So first, I want to know how you felt recording with a live band in the studio with all those noteworthy Nashville musicians.
The feeling was an overwhelming sense of awe and excitement. Of course, as you mentioned, it was a first for me. And, for a second there, I felt like the dumbest person in the room. So I got a chance to listen with a learning curve. And then also I found my swagger, and then I was able to perform under a little bit of pressure. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I turned that pressure into perspective, and I turned it all the way up to 10, and I was able to do my best.
I also want to know how it was working with Dan Auerbach from the Black Keys, because I know you guys been working on this together.
It was painless. He's a consummate professional, and over the years he's become a dear friend, and he's obviously a genius. And this vision was executed so eloquently, and I just took my hat to the gentleman.
Sounds really good. Sounds like you guys had a good experience. So now that we covered those basics, I want to dive into the lyricism of the album, because I was really blown away when I listened closely to all the lyrics. And we're going to play a round of BMG album trivia, and here's how it works. So as I said, I looked at your lyrics really closely. I'm going to give you 3 contextual hints per song, and you're going to have to guess the song of yours that I am talking about. And then I will ask you a question about that song. Are you ready?
Yep.
Awesome. Okay. So song number 1 talks about trust. That's my first hint. It mentions the risk of being hurt when giving your heart away. And first and foremost, it talks about the miracle of love. And the word miracle is actually used a bunch of times.
That's for you.
Promise me there'll be no games. I don't want any pain. I have cried enough. I really want to believe you're the one who'll give to me that shining miracle of love.
Yes, I love that song. It's also the first song on the album, and it's super vulnerable and intimate. And as a listener, I kind of know I'm in for an exclusive look behind the icon, the celebrity, and into your life as Thomas Callaway. So I want to know how the transition from CeeLo Green to Thomas Callaway came about.
Between the two extremities, there's always that banter back and forth, because it's an internal dialogue. But I've mastered, in some degree, that duality within myself, and I've made it as practical and as normal as I could possibly make it. You know what I mean? But I will say it is definitely from one extreme end to the other. Thomas Callaway being something of a quiet and introverted couch potato. I am an American dad and a family guy. I'm real life Peter Griffin.
I love that. I feel like when we listen to this album, we really get to know you, and it's really lovely to see. And both are part of you. CeeLo Green is like the flashy, funky, and then like you or Thomas Callaway is the dad.
That's right.
Is there anyone in your life that actually calls you Thomas? Or does your family call you Thomas?
To be totally honest, I've never been referred to as Thomas often enough that I can recall.
Okay.
I go by the name Carlo, which is my middle name.
Mm,
My name is Thomas DiCarlo Callaway.
yeah,
And so CeeLo is abbreviated from Carlo.
I see. Okay, that makes
So
sense.
my friends just call me Lo. I prefer it. So
Yeah,
because I like to be friends with everybody, so I just tell everybody to call me Lo.
low. I like that. That's cool. Okay, the next song talks about redemption. It also talks about forgiveness in a way, and the word rambling is used 4 times. I counted.
Oh, thinking out loud.
Yes.
I'm sorry, sorry. Tell me what I have to do, and I'll do it. My sweet love, let me make it up to you. I will prove it. Yes, I'm rambling and thinking out loud, all alone.
Topics like love, loss, and heartache are reoccurring topics on this album. And for me also as a writer, I feel like pain is so inspiring sometimes. Which emotion inspires you the most to write music and make music?
Pain is definitely um, a go-to. Um, and pain, the emotion has authored many various, a multitude of songs. You know what I mean? Because even in love, there's some pain. You know what I mean? Because um, either you have to be vulnerable, which is painfully honest, you know, or you have to grow for the sake of that love, and therefore you can have growing pains. You know.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. That makes a lot of sense. Okay, next song talks about hint number one. It talks about chasing dreams. It talks about you tackle topics like loneliness and mortality. Do you already know? Because you're already doing this.
That's going down with the sun.
Yes.
I'm getting older. There's no time to waste. The inevitability that I must face.
I love the lyricism and the metaphors in the song. One part you said, I'm getting older, there's no time to waste, the inevitability that I must face. So when listening to that and reading those lyrics, I just kept thinking carpe diem, seize the day. So I want to know, what is for you a day lived to the fullest? How does that look like? What's your perfect day?
Ooh, there's many versions of a perfect day. You have to be first. You have to be alive on that day to live on that day, and then you can live for that day because that's all you have when tomorrow is not promised and yesterday is so far away. There's nothing you can do. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
you have to definitely live in the moment. And as soon as I would be, fortunate enough to wake up on that perfect day, it would be perfect. You know what I mean? Almost immediately because the world is accessible to me. Um, and, you know, having the world to yourself is not as gratifying as it is to have someone to share it with.
Yeah.
So, and it's big, it's such a big idea. You know what I mean? So you want family and friends involved. I'm really like a people person. I like having people around. I'm very sociable. Um, fun loving, loud, and full of laughter, So, but then on those other days, which could also be perfect for me, depending, to just lay around and be lazy or, listen to music, get a massage.
It sounds like you just enjoy to be alive, and to be around your family and your friends.
Absolutely.
I have another question to that song actually, because it really stuck with me. There was this line where you said, I've been exiled on an island all alone. My body's still here, my mind's already gone. What do you want people to take away from that song and the metaphors in it?
Time is traveled through um, the portal of the pineal gland, you know, and through and at the speed of thought, you know. So to be exiled um, is to be still, you know what I mean, or be committed uh, somewhere, you know what I mean. I could just be committed to my bedroom for the day, or to my where I am now, my quiet and meditating room in the house, um, just to think out loud. You know what I mean? And so that's kind of what it's a metaphor for. You know what I mean? You have to be still in order uh, to have movement, like mental movement. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because when you're in transit, you know what I mean. You kind of your thinking is connected to the activity and the function. So that's your motoring. You know what I'm saying? Like controlling your movement. You know what I mean? The subconscious is still allowed to wander off. You know what I mean? Uh, but when you're just still, you get a chance to encompassate, you know what I mean,
And
all that there is, all at once. So
very true. And you actually look inside, because you're still and mindful with yourself. I love that. Yeah. I think meditating would really help everyone right now, listening to your
yeah,
song and then meditating. Okay, so the next song, talking about commitment, actually also talks about commitment in a metaphoric way. The lyrics reveal a deep trust in the process, and I feel like that's something that I learned about you through listening to your music, is that you just take it step by step and you trust the process. And then you mentioned being led and leading by example.
yes.
It's
Lead me.
yay, of course, yeah.
Lead me by example. Lead me, 'cause I've been going nowhere. Lead me to the promised land.
Staying with this topic of being led or leading by example, I heard that you went to Nashville for actually just a songwriting session and then kind of came back with a full album. So I want to know if you let your intuition lead you when it comes to making music, making art, and how that process looks like for you.
Definitely the faith, what I mean, courage, confidence, bravery. Faith is a fundamental and essential of all of those attitudes and aesthetics. You know what I mean? So you have to be faithful to be brave. You know what I mean? You have to think that you can, or you at least have to hope that you can, and um, and you have to be willing to accept whatever the outcome is. You know what I mean? Because you don't necessarily know. Just simply because you're brave, you're just brave enough to take the chance. And then again, you can ask yourself, what other word does life equate with? And there's one other that I can think of, and that is chance. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Life is one big chance you take. You know what I'm saying?
When you look at what you've done in your life, you've done so many different things, worked with so many different artists. So you really, I think you see a chance and you take it. How do you keep up with that? Because I feel like some people are afraid, and especially when there is a new chance, it's also always a risk and it's change. So how do you deal with that?
Well, I just personally despise fear, even though I know that there's construct in fear actually being able to be sourced as self-preservation. So it's not completely negative. You can skew it to the left or to the right, and utilize it, for whatever that purpose may be. But just fear of opinionation, fear of rejection, fear of failing. I don't really like those things because the only thing that beats a fail is a try. You know what I mean? And you can't you can't you can't do anything without trying. You know what I
I
mean?
totally agree. Yeah.
You can't even do anything. You know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
you stand still for the rest of your life to feel safer, and death will still come and meet you exactly where you're standing. So what was the
Exactly. If you don't try, you can't make it. So I think that that's something that so many people have to realize in their lives, that it's worth taking a risk sometimes. So
Yeah, you go for it.
yeah.
And I like to show people that it's possible. You know what I mean? Like I try to go after uh, the 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 tall hanging fruit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Uh,
And it
I
worked
try.
out.
Yeah, it's worked out for me so many times because I think that fate rewards faith. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Um, yeah, I mean,
That's the lyric right there.
it is. What
Love
can I say?
Yeah. Okay, cool. The next song talks about belonging. That's hint number one. Hint number two says you mentioned building a life together with someone. And number three is it talks about finding your way home.
The way.
Yep.
Another broken neon sign, the circling of the birds of prey. The know it's gonna take some time, but I'm gonna find my way.
You talk about home in that, and there's a lyric that says, find my way where I belong. We will make a life together. Until then, nowhere is home. So I want to know what home means to you.
Contentment, uh, security, stability, warmth, love, happiness. you know, all
Yeah,
of those wonderful things.
that's
Good food,
good food. Yes.
nice hot bath.
Mhm. I like that. Okay, song number 6 mentions the word daylight quite frequently. It talks about time again, and also it discusses the feeling of losing control when you fall in
Um,
love.
wait a minute. Why is the title sitting in my mind?
You know it. It talks about time in a way that it is sometimes fast and other times the opposite.
I want to know how love feels.
No, it's slow down actually.
Oh,
Slow down, I'm losing control of my heart.
But yeah, so in that song, you said, I found a love beyond compare. How do you balance being a father or husband with being a musician and an entrepreneur?
well, it's an even and equal distribution of energy, attention, and affection for all of those things that you just stated. I believe that the measuring stick of manhood is your ability to multitask without either of these things suffering, and it's quite a task.
It really is. How many hours do you sleep a night? Because I always wonder, how do you get everything in a day? Making music, being there as a husband, a father, doing all the other projects that you're doing.
Well, see, this is the thing. Um, I can I can get rest, but then you know, I can do a song a day. You
Mm.
know, I mean, I've had days where I've done 3 or 4 or 5 songs in a day.
Wow.
But technically, you're doing 3 or 4 or 5 ideas.
Mm.
So if you get one full, complete song that's just
Mm-hmm.
done and satisfactory,
Yeah.
then it's time well spent. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it doesn't take all day to do that. It just takes one of those perfect days to do that.
To do that. Very true. What makes a good song to you? What if you listen? Because I think sometimes you just throw ideas around. You start something like you said. There's a bunch of ideas, and when you listen, what's the time that you know this is it? That's the one.
Well, melody, mood,
Mm.
um, but ultimately, what it all has to do with is with timing, because a song unheard is only a good intention. You know what
Mm.
I'm saying?
Mm.
It's only until people hear it and reciprocate it and repeat it, um, and live it and love it, only then does it become great. So the people determine what's great or not.
Mm.
Us as artists, we just have really good intentions because we love people.
Yeah.
We
Cool.
want to be, and we want to be great in the people's hearts.
Yeah, and I think that this album definitely does that. Okay, moving on to song number 7. This tune talks about fulfilling someone's need. And it also kind of talks about playing different roles in someone's life, as we all do, the mother, the daughter, the friend, the wife.
So this is easy. This is do it all.
Gotta be my friend and my lover. Gotta be my sister and my brother.
In the lyrics, you say, I'm not ashamed to say that I need you. And you show yourself very vulnerable and honest, which I don't feel like is always easy in the music industry. What's your advice for younger artists who struggle with just being unapologetically themselves and just throwing themselves out
Well, advice is always helpful, um, but they need to see that truth spoken into power. I mean, they need to see the manifested destiny. They need to see and have something tangible to touch and to trust, something that's material, something that's solid. You know what I mean?
there?
Um, but something that's solid but reflective of where they can see themselves in the work. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Um, and then that's when impossible becomes I'm possible.
Love that. Yeah. All that wisdom. I like that. You show yourself so vulnerable, but was there a point in your career where you were more prone to caring about what other people thought about you or what people said about you or even what the press was writing?
I don't know if I cared what people said. I think I just noticed what they said. You know
Mm.
what I mean?
Mhm.
And I never understood then why I was always the center of some negative attention or opinion. You know what I mean? I didn't have any ill intent. I was just there. I'm just me. I'm obligated to be me. I don't know what exactly I've done intentionally or inadvertently to offend or you know, but of sometimes it's not offense. Sometimes it's interest. You know what I'm saying?
Oh.
Well, especially when something or someone is unique and like myself, eccentric, peculiar, all those things. And those things often associate themselves when something has not fully taken shape or form. You know
Mm.
what I mean?
Yeah.
So it looks creature-esque. You know what I'm saying? It looks like something left undone and misunderstood. But then when you carve that character out of clay, you know, it becomes a, a statue. I mean, like, a monument. It becomes art. You know what I'm saying? Like, so not only am I an artist, I am a piece of art.
Song number 8 is super upbeat and it really gave me kind of like a southern vibe. And you mentioned a porch in the song.
People watching.
Yes, I love that song. It's such a good mood and like good vibes type of song.
Sitting on the front porch with a cold one in my hand, people watching.
I also know you from Atlanta, and when you started off with Goody Mob, also you had the southern vibe, the soul and the funk influence. I feel like every city really has its own sound and melody. So I was wondering how the South has influenced your sound.
Well, yeah, I'm definitely a country boy. So all of those nuances, they just sound like flies and stuff buzzing around. You know what I mean? It just sounds like shows I used to love as a kid, Dukes of Hazzard and stuff like that. So um, yeah, all of my notions are Southern. You know what I mean? It's truly um, innate.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Southern. I can't help it. I talk Southern. Southern. I love Southern fried chicken.
Mm-hmm. Southern food is so good. I love it too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Where am I speaking to you from?
I'm in New York, but I'm from Germany.
Yeah, I've been all over Germany, Frankfurt, Luxembourg, Cologne, Berlin.
Nice. I'm from Cologne. I love Cologne. Can you say one word in German?
Damn it, I can't remember. It's on all of the expressways. Is it
Autobahn.
yeah, we traveled, we did the Autobahn before. Is Danke, is that German?
Danke. Yeah, that means thank
Is
you.
Danke, Danke schön? Yeah,
Dankeschön. Yes.
I love that song. Danke schön, darling, Danke schön.
Yes. Song number 9 talks about wasting time. And the lyrics raise a bunch of questions, basically. And then you mention spinning wheels and stolen joy in the lyrics.
I wonder how love feels.
How can you really know if you're just spinning wheels? They're moving awfully slow. I wonder how love feels.
And one of the lyrics says, the only thing that keeps me from crying is to look in the mirror and love. And I felt like when I read that again, I was like, oh, this is really like a journey to yourself and for us to get to know you a little bit better. What is something you've learned about yourself by spending time with yourself, looking in the mirror? Maybe even something new you've learned during the quarantine.
Well, that lyric itself is like, it's just probably a more sophisticated way of saying don't take yourself too seriously.
I like that.
You know? So I think a lot of how I've gotten to certain places um, is by seeing um, the um, the the amusement and stuff. You know what I mean? Like um, I can laugh. You know, I enjoy laughing in the face of like adversity. And sometimes smaller forms of adversity is just somebody telling you no, that you can't do something. I mean, and I'm like, sure I could. And then like, I could try.
Yeah. We have 3 more songs to go. Song number 10 is about seeing yourself in someone else. It talks about being a father and being protective.
Little mama.
Yeah.
Little mama, you're as perfect as I dreamed you would always be. Little mama, every part of your mother and the heart of me.
Has you being a father to Kingston, has it influenced the way you write and produce music?
Yeah, definitely. Having children and being a father and being a role model to um, people that are listening and that are watching. We have to all be each other's accountability partners. There are a lot of adult themes and situational things that are addressed in music quite often.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, Not to say that children won't be exposed to certain things, but there's a time and a place. And so, but who's ever going to be the teacher but the reality of a thing? You know what I mean? Um, like my mother used to say, stuff like, if you play with fire, you're going to get burned. You know, you can just take that literally. And it's like, yeah, you won't know how hot it is until it burns you. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Um, and you'll have that scar to remind you. You know what I mean?
You live and you learn.
But in all honesty, um, kids are going to discover that part of themselves, some earlier than others. Some people are just more advanced. I mean, I was as a kid. So,
Mm.
um, people, I speak, some people have said that, it seems like I'm 100 years old, some of the stuff that I'm able to just say. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't mean to. It's like, I just, I have a clear perspective
Yeah.
on what it is that interests me. Now, if you ask me how to, you know, build a rocket, I don't know anything about that. So
Yeah.
the point I'm trying to make is, we, the human being, we all like a little danger. Do we not?
Yeah, we do.
That's kind of like riding a roller coaster. You like it,
It's
just
exciting.
a little bit. Um, and so those concepts, theme parks, they're based off of that emotional assessment that some genius individual has done, you know, research on. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
They know we like it. It's sensational.
Yeah, there's something in our human nature that we like risk and adventure and like that. It's exciting. So yeah, no.
How do we, how do you help your kids evade it completely? It's like you can't evade it completely. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Uh, you can only prolong the process.
All right. So the second to last song talks about promises that might not be kept in the lyrics. And you talk about the fact that people change, which we've been talking about through our interview as well, and that some relationships still remain even if you change.
Doing it all together.
I need you. You need me too. That means we're doing it all together.
Yes. Doing it all together. So, what I want to know, because it talks about change so much, and we've been talking about change, what was the most surprising yet positive change for you in the past year, let's say? And I know there's been a lot of change with COVID and all that, but something nice, something positive.
Well, to be totally honest, I got a lot of positivity out of the pandemic and the quarantine, and we've been have become an even closer knit family. Doing things. I've been working with my son almost every day, producing and writing music for ourselves and others, and just recreationally. So, and to be totally honest, one of the positive things about that is we're getting the opportunity to make up for a lot of lost time because when he was young and I was divorced from his mother. I wasn't in his home life and in his everyday life for a long while.
Mm.
Um, but I was out on one of those adventures, trying to prove myself worthy and also provide.
Yeah.
So it was a catch-22 and something very circumstantial, the way that it is with every family. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the fact that we've been here uh, going on 6 months straight together is pretty cool.
That's pretty amazing. Some good quality time. We all needed that somehow. Okay, so the last song talks about making a decision. It talks about values like honesty, which we just talked about, honesty and lying. And it talks about the child that you used to be. You know it. All
Oh,
right.
don't lie.
Yep, exactly.
When you look them in the eye, very plain to see. You're staring in the eyes of a child that you used to be.
I feel like all these different songs just kind of touch up on different things in your life. So is music an outlet for you to kind of process what you're going through or what's happening in your life, what you're feeling and thinking about?
Yeah, music is it's very cathartic in that way. It's an opportunity to exhaust, to vent. You know what I mean? Um, yeah, music is really healthy. It's therapy.
Artist therapy, 100%. Cool. So to end this interview, I just want to know what's next for you, what's in the works right now. I read there might be some Niles Barkley project with Danger Mouse again. What's up with that?
That's true. I'm doing a couple of different things at once. A few things that may be a bit more notable than others. Niles Barkley being one of them. Another Goody Mob album being one of them.
Hmm.
Um, and then, just other things that I'm involved in are, recreational to begin with, the things that we're trying, and I'm extending myself to see what could possibly happen.
Awesome. We're all excited for that. Thank you so much for joining us for BMG Album Trivia today.
You're welcome.
Awesome. Thank you, CeeLo.
Sitting on the front porch with a cold one in my hand, people watching. The young couple on the corner, looking like forever and sweet talking.